The dispute over the ownership of Batu Puteh Island, or Pedra Branca, between Singapore and Malaysia dragged on until it was referred to the International Court of Justice (ICJ) in the Netherlands. Unfortunately, on the 23rd of May, 2008, the court ruled that Singapore has sovereignty over the island of Batu Puteh, or Pedra Branca. Malaysia's efforts to review the decision were made in 2017 under Prime Minister Najib Razak. At the last moment, the review of the application was withdrawn when the government changed to the Pakatan Harapan government under the leadership of Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad in 2018. The question is focused on why Tun Dr. Mahathir acted like this. The name Pulau Batu Puteh comes from the Portuguese Pedra Branca, which means white stone. It is a small island with an area of 8,560 square meters. While Malaya and Singapore were still under British colonial rule, a lighthouse was designed and built on Batu Puteh Island under the supervision of a government surveyor named John Turnbull Thompson. When completed in 1851, it was named the Hotspur Lighthouse, after a prominent navigator and hydrographer, Captain James Hotspur of Scotland. The lighthouse is the first of its kind in Southeast Asia. Malaya gained independence from the British in 1957. Then Malaya joined with Singapore, Sabah, and Sarawak to form the Federation of Malaysia in 1963. However, in 1965, Singapore left Malaysia to form a republic, while Pedra Branca Island continued to be maintained by Singapore. The dispute began when Malaysia published a map that included the island in its territory in 1979. Malaysia claims the island originally belonged to the Sultanate of Johor. The construction and management of the Hotspur Lighthouse started only after getting permission from the Sultan of Johor in 1844. So, after Johor joined the formation of Malaysia, the ownership of Pedra Branca Island automatically belonged to Malaysia. On the other hand, Singapore claims that Pedra Branca Island did not belong to any country. At that time, the British had already maintained the island by building wharves and military assets to locate shipwrecks around the nearby waters. Singapore has already built a helicopter landing site in 1992 and a radar house in 1989, with the aim of controlling piracy. However, all constructions built by Singapore after 1979 were officially objected to by the Malaysian government. Finally, Malaysia and Singapore agreed to bring the dispute to the International Court of Justice (ICJ) in The Hague, Netherlands. Singapore used the evidence of a letter from the acting secretary of the Johor state government in 1953. The letter stated that the Johor state government did not make any claim on Pedra Branca Island, which was administered by Singapore at the time. So, on the 23rd of May, 2008, the court ruled that Singapore has sovereignty over the island of Batu Puteh, or Pedra Branca, while Batuan Tengah or Middle Rocks belong to Malaysia. The ICJ did not make a clear decision on the position of Tubiaselatan or South Ledge. It is located in the overlapping waters among the mainland of Peninsular Malaysia, Pedra Branca Island and Middle Rocks. the surface will only appear when the sea water recedes there. In this situation it will belong to the country in the territorial waters where it is located. Malaysia and Singapore are negotiating to determine who will own the South Ledge. Since the position of the South Ledge is closer to Middle Rocks than the island of Pedra Branca, it is most likely that it will be owned by Malaysia. In fact, it is understood that a monument has been erected to indicate that the South Ledge belongs to Malaysia. Malaysia and Singapore have already established a joint technical committee to delineate the maritime boundary in the area around the islands of Pedra Branca and Middle Rocks, and further determine the sovereignty rights over the South Ledge. Malaysia has already developed Middle Rocks by building a 316-meter jetty, a helicopter landing pad and a lighthouse. It is called Abu Bakar Maritime Base. It was inaugurated by the Sultan of Johor on the 1st of August, 2017. The structure was built to conduct marine scientific research and reaffirms Malaysia's absolute sovereignty over the Middle Rocks. It is located only about 500 meters to the southeast of Pedra Branca Island. On the 2nd of February, 2017, the Malaysian government under the leadership of Najib Abdul Razak applied for a review of the court's decision based on new evidence obtained. The evidence is historical facts obtained from the National Archives of the United Kingdom or the British National Archives. First, the modern Sultanate of Johor had already existed in 1855. Second, this led to many border agreements made in Johor, which were gazetted, including Pedra Branca Island following the British intention to develop a port in Singapore in the 19th century. Thirdly, the British wanted to build lighthouses on two islands belonging to Johor, namely Batu Puteh in the east and Pulau Pisang in the west to help commercial ships enter the port in Singapore. Fourth, the British got approval from the Johor Sultanate to build two lighthouses in Batu Puteh and Pulau Pisang. Fifth, Batu Puteh Island is much closer to Malaysia, because in terms of geographical position it is 5.5 nautical miles to Penjerang in Johor, compared to 25.5 nautical miles from Singapore. Unfortunately, at the last minute, the review of the application was withdrawn, when the government changed to the Pakatan Harapan government under the leadership of Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad in 2018. As a result, a Royal Commission of Inquiry, RCI, will be established to investigate this matter. The question is focused on why Tun Dr. Mahathir acted like this. Are there elements of negligence on the part of Mahathir's government at that time? There are two possible negligence that occurred. First, if the decision to withdraw the review application was made by the Prime Minister together with the Cabinet, then the Prime Minister and the entire Cabinet were negligent under the principle of collective responsibility. Secondly, if the decision to withdraw the review application was made unilaterally by Dr. Mahathir himself without bringing it to the Cabinet, then Dr. Mahathir as Prime Minister has committed treason or betrayed the country in his personal capacity. When the Pakatan Harapan government under Mahathir became the government, the Attorney General Apandi Ali was dropped. But Law Minister Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaffar retained Apandi as chairman of the task force for the review of Pulau Batu Puteh. This was not agreed by Mahathir because according to him, there was a conflict of interest, i.e. Apandi cannot be appointed as chairman of the review task force because he is no longer the Attorney General. In January 2023, the new Pakatan Harapan government under Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim stated that Tun Dr. Mahathir's actions were very inappropriate.